Now, if we combine all of the previous things that we learned, so we have objects, we have methods, we can create a more complex example. And we're going to read from data from a text file. So I have this CSV file, so a comma separated file with values. So we have in ID1 is Ada, she lives in LA, and we have a whole list of names. This is a random file, and you can just create these kinds of file very easily online with different tools. Now we want to read this file, and we've saved it next to our Java files in a directory resources, and we call it testdata.csv. Now we want to read this file. That's exactly what this code will do. So in our main method, the first thing we do is we want the list of persons from our file. And we have here a method load persons. So this method can do some very big things. It can load data from a database or from a file or whatever. We don't care at this point. We just want the list of persons. Where it is retrieved can be handled in a separate method. So again, this makes your code very easy to understand. Load persons will load the persons from any source and give you a list of persons. And actually it's then within the load persons method that this is done. So let's look what's happening here. So this is the method which will load persons. So it will return a list of person again, and this is an object. So let's see what a person looks like. And this is what we have here. So a person has an ID, has a first name, a last name, and so on and so on and so on. And we can retrieve these values. I didn't create all the getters here. And you see that Visual Studio Code even warns me that these are not used. Actually, this is bad coding because you have values in your code that are not used. So it would be better to just remove them here. But for the use case of this tutorial, I leave them here that you can play with them if you want in the next step. So a person is created here with this constructor, not by giving all these values, but by giving it one line of this text file. So we will give it one line of the CSV file, so a line like this. And we see in this file that it's comma separated, so between each value is a comma. So we can safely say if we split this line, split it on the commas, we will have an array of strings containing data. And now we can loop through all these string values and just assign them to the value. So we know that at the first position, index 0 is the ID, but it is an integer. So we have to convert the string to an integer. And that's also what we do with the age and with the zip code. And so we can read all the values from the text file. And how do we read this line by line is actually what's happening here in the load persons. So it could be from a database, but in this case, it's from a text file. So we first create an empty list. That's where we will add all the persons that we read from the text file. And then we have this file object. And the file object needs a path name. In this case, it's within a directory resources, and the file name is testdata.csv. And we have a try catch. A try catch is a system to catch any error. If something happens in our code, then this catch will detect it. And some code requires you to handle exceptions. So in this case, we need to handle the file not found exception. So if you would have here a typo in the path name of the file, we would end up here. And a scanner will help us to read through a text file line by line. That's exactly what we're doing here. So this try will open the text file, and at the end, we'll also close it again. And so while the scanner has the next line, we know that there's something in there, we can add a person to our list by using that line. And that's how we go through this whole list of persons. So all this is happening here in our main method. We say we want the persons, so it will load the text file, go through all the lines, create a person object for each line, and return this into this variable persons. So at this point, we can already say we know how many people were in this file, how many persons were loaded. And then we can go through them, get the age, get the name of the person, and so on and so on, and then also output some other data. So let's run this. And let's see what we got from output. So you see all the people that were loaded from the CSV file.